preservation of and increased access to the 92nd Street Y Humanities Audio Archives is generously funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities.
Well, as Ella said, we have two very distinguished guests tonight. Mark Morris, who's been called the most brilliant American choreographer of his generation, and Donald Sadler, who, if this were Japan, would surely be a national living treasure. And this year of the Pillow's 70th anniversary, I figured out that between the two of them, they cover about 40 years of the institution's history. So we're going to proceed tonight in kind of a talk show format. It's a new idea for me, anyway. So Mark is going to come out, and we're going to talk for a while. We're going to look at some videos, and you have to understand that the quality may not be superb, but the content is wonderful. And then Mark is going to go away because he has an opening tomorrow, and Donald is going to come up, and then we're going to talk for a while. So let me now welcome, with pleasure, Mark Morris. So we have to pull these into us, I'm told. All right.
Can you dim that a little bit?
Yeah.
Can you dim the front lights here?
They're a little bit, okay.
Yeah, that's
like
better.
That better?
Yeah, okay.
Of course, I may not be able to
Stabilize.
read my notes.
Oh, that's all right.
Okay. So, Mark.
Sorry, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but I have a problem. Mike, man. Look, right? Is that okay?
Just lift it.
All right. All right, just droops. Okay, fine.
Is that okay?
It's the same, it's fine.
All right. Well, you can come out and do it if it's not good.
I think it's all right.
So you have been on the road a lot, practically ever since you moved here from Seattle in the 70s, and rental studios and so on, and now you have a home. Mm-hmm. So I know you're bursting to talk about your home in Brooklyn. Mark Morris Dance Company has a wonderful building in Brooklyn, which is such a rarity for dancers. Is it great?
It is. Well, the thing is that I'm used to it now. We've been in there for some months. It took us years to get it. It's an incredible luxury, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You know, it's a necessity, but it's in this sort of job that we have, it's a luxury. And, you know, it's, I think, 30,000 square feet. There's 3 studios. The point was that we have sort of, you know, I hate to use the word village, but I'm going to use the word village. We have like a little village that we did when we lived in Brussels. We had a very rundown, old, decrepit building that I inherited from Mr. Berkshires that had studios and a Pilates gym and all the offices and a technical department, like sort of everything we needed. And, you know, for many years, we had a little office downtown, and then we would rehearse wherever we could on whatever hard floor or cold or schedule, you know, all of the woes I can number, but I won't. We wanted all of us to be together and to give full human value to the work that people do who are dancers. Mm-hmm. So everyone who works in the office, the technical staff, the musical staff, physical therapy, the dancers have beautiful dressing rooms. We have wonderful sprung floors. Every window opens. There's abundant hot water. And since it's in Brooklyn, there's a view of sky instead of just, you know, pigeon droppings. So it's a really, you know, the ceilings are high. Eventually the big studio, which is about 60 by 60, will be a small theater for about 150 viewers. We have a school that's going with lots of keen and eager, fabulous young people. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we'll have talent shows eventually. And, you know, it's a place to go and dance and see if you like it.
Great. It is beautiful. I've seen it. It's amazing.
Beautiful.
Amazing. Well, then I was thinking that in a sense, in all your years of touring, bringing Jacob's Pillow in, this is going to be your 15th season there, and your 11th consecutive season, actually, if Norton, the archivist.
I believe you. If Norton said it, he's
Norton
usually
said it.
90% right.
Yes. So you know, I think that you and the pillow have a symbiotic relationship. You're good for them, they're good for you. Your work has flourished there, and audiences have loved the work. So it's sort of a temporary haven for you. You've done a lot there, right? You came there first in '82 to do a solo, right?
Right, I think that's when it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Let's see. Yes, I was there alone and performing and teaching, and I did that for several years before my full company started performing there. Since then, we spent sort of residency time there, rehearsing off season, which I'm sorry, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but it's so fabulous off season.
Yes.
When you're alone and it's getting autumny and rainy, and it's fantastic to just be able to work and kind of hide away in your little hut. So, we go every year, we do shows. The stage has gotten bigger, more paths have been paved, and it's a very varied and interesting audience, and it's great.
Yeah, and you actually met some of your company members there. You found them in workshops like Marjorie Folkman and Joe Bowie. Isn't that where you drew some company people?
Yeah. Marianne Moore was one of them. Julie
Rachel
Warden
Murray.
is another. Rachel Murray. Yeah. People
Dan,
who were
Dan
Joy. Oh my God.
Dan Joyce.
Yeah, you're right. I know you just listed everybody who's ever been in my company.
But
but yes, I find them. Teaching in some way, or just having guest classes, or they showed up and then turned out to be right.
Yeah, and you just recently, your most recent thing in residence there, I guess, was the film of Falling Downstairs, which you did. Was that for Yo-Yo Ma's television thing?
Yes, it was for the project that Yo-Yo did unfortunately called Inspired by Bach. And it was a reading of the 6 suites for unaccompanied cello. And he offered me first choice, thank God, right?
Yeah.
I didn't just get the one that nobody else wanted. So I did the suite in C major, which is one that I'd known for many, many years. So, and we rehearsed it a lot of places, and filmed it and rehearsed it periodically there. So it's definitely a Jacob's Pillow generated work.
Yeah, and I think you rehearsed New Love Song Waltzes there, although it didn't premiere there, right?
Right.
Yeah, and
I also made up that duet. What is that called?
Beautiful Day?
No, a different one. What was that? Barry, what's that one with Guillermo and Ruth?
No, but it was Beautiful Day.
Beautiful Day I did there? Yeah, but what was the one where they, and I'm in it too? A Spell.
A Spell. It wasn't.
No,
there.
I worked on it a lot there because I remember them lying on the ground. I made it up lying down, and then we turned it to standing up.
Well, I would like to.
So you could see it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see it.
Right. Exactly, unless you stood over it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We want to start by showing a tiny scrap of Mark in his first appearance at Jacob's Pillow in 1982. It was for some special thing, I think, and Mark performed Ted Sean's 1929 solo, Mevlevi Dervish. So how did that come about that you did that solo?
I was asked.
I see.
Well, I shared a program. I did some solos, and I shared the program with Monty Brown Dance Company. And each of them, Elisa and David, both did solos of one of those, the founders there. And I was given, this isn't real long, but it's kind of interesting. Jess Meeker, who was the genius pianist who was there forever, had composed the music for Mevlevi Dervish. So I was given a silent film on videotape and an ancient cassette of music. And I spent a lot of time trying to make those go together. And I was a spinner because I'd worked with Laura Dean and,
See, I was figuring that's why they asked you to do it. They knew you could spin.
I was doing some beautiful dances of my own, but I could also spin in my sleep, which I wouldn't recommend. But I was a spinner, so, what do you do, spin in this dance? So I worked really, really hard and put this all together and got everything done. And then I went to rehearse it. and it was kind of just remade up. It was kind of re-choreographed, which was fine.
Which was fine.
Yeah.
So we're going to show, there's a little clip of Sean doing it, and then we sort of segue to Mark at the end doing the same thing.
I'd been coached by Barton Muma. That's how that happened.
Aha, all right.
And Jess actually played the piano for the show.
Barton Muma, one of the original Sean's men's dancers, and Jess Meeker, the original pianist for the group. So let's look at tape number 1, please.
That's not me.
No. Sean had been to Tunisia and Algeria, and more colorful. I like the way the hand moves. It's as if it's weighted. That was good. Actually, I'm not sure that Jess Meeker wrote the music for that. It
Didn't
was,
he?
It
Oh,
was
okay.
somebody, Anis Fulehan.
Okay.
But it made me think a little bit about music because Sean and Dennis were very interested in, to put it mildly, in other cultures, particularly the Far East. And
Oh, I thought you meant gay culture or something.
no.
Oh, okay.
No. Spanish, but also particularly Indian and so on. But of course, in those days, this sort of Orientalist fashion, they used Western music that sort of approximated Asian styles. And you have, I don't think, you never studied Indian dance, did you? You studied Spanish and...
I am a very, very big devotee of Indian dance, but I've never studied it, no.
But you have used Eastern music for dances like celestial greetings, like Orang Asaisi, real Indian music or real Thai music or real
Right.
pop music. And I was thinking, I wish we had a tape of you at the Pillow doing this. Orang Asaisi, which was a marvelous solo. It was a very, you used real Indian music and it had a hint of Indian style in
Right.
it. But it was very personal. It was very dark almost.
Well, it was a dance that was made up after my very first trip to India. I've since gone back several times since then. Sorry. And I was, like many people are, when you go to India for the first time, you either are completely horrified and terrified and are racked with Caucasian guilt, or you feel like you are back home. And I felt both of those things very, very strongly. I was only there for a couple of weeks the first time I went, and it was devastating and incredibly thrilling, and it changed my life. It made me so uninterested in Europe. So this dance I made up, I found a piece of music. Little did I know at that time that the singer was the greatest singer who ever lived on earth, M.S. Subbulakshmi, who is a great, great South Indian singer, still alive, but not singing. And the music was by the great Saint Tyagaraja, who wrote a little bit after Bach did, and was the greatest composer of Carnatic vocal music. So I didn't know that I was potentially like stepping on someone's toes, but so what, really? And I made up this dance that was a deeply personal dance, and again, so what? Is it any good? I think it was also very good, but it was almost 20 minutes long, a solo in a form of music that I didn't really know much about. This studying of this music, I learned way more than I thought was capable. I thought it was over my head, and it set me up for 20 years of investigating and adoring Carnatic Indian music. Anyway.
And you've used also this. I was thinking of what was the music for the gong? Gong, was that Colin
Gong.
McPhee?
Right. That's a piece of. It's based on transcriptions of Balinese gamelan music, which is gong. Gamelan gong is Balinese versus gamelan, which is Javanese. Colin McPhee, who went to live in Bali long ago when Walter Spies was there working and trying to reinvent and rediscover Balinese art and music and dance. So he was very early. There's an old recording of Colin McPhee and Benjamin Britten playing 2 piano transcriptions of Balinese music, which is unbelievable. You can buy it online. And he wrote this sort of toccata for piano used as percussion instrument and orchestra. And so that also is a little bit Balinese. But there's so much I don't know if I could say I, as a traveler, I travel all the time. And, people are so excited about traveling somewhere and trying to go to the undiscovered, unsullied, unwesternized village, like westernization is some sort of horrible, crime. Mm-hmm. In fact, most people would prefer to have clean water and electricity. And if you can also amplify the bass so that more people can hear the music that you've been playing all your life, that too we purified postmodern Americans think is a crime that we take full responsibility to a certain point. But it's a little holy for me. You go anywhere in the world, you hear fabulous electric guitar in Senegal. It's like, those people have electricity. It drives me crazy.
It's the whole school of music.
This is a great, wonderful thing. So for it to be pure ethnic music, which I guess you're not supposed to say anymore, is to me, there's no such thing really. Right. It's like pure American music. Anyway.
And these music sort of influence your movement style too, for Gong, which was made for American Ballet Theater. Mm-hmm. And this Celestial Greetings struck me as similar in it, kind of interest in two-dimensional effects as well as the normal three-dimensional ones. And we'd just like to look at a little bit of the Celestial Greetings from 1989 as it was performed at
We'd have to say
Pillow.
Something first.
Say something.
Celestial Greetings, the name of that I got from a tour. The second time I went to Southeast Asia, I went with the Lar Lubavitch Dance Company, and we were in Thailand, and I of course go music shopping wherever I go, and I hang out and I do what I love, which is listen to music and watch dancing and eat. And there was a demonstration of some beautiful and fabulous Thai court dancers, and they, of course, like a lot of Asian dancers, would like over-explain what you're about to see, and so they were showing particular moves that they did, and they hit this bizarre position, which was beautiful. Of course, they had the giant fingernails on, and the interpreter like goes over to one of the dancers, and then she says, "This movement is called Celestial Greetings." It was kind of like that. It was like, oh, of course. And that's where that came from.
Okay. So could we have the second tape, please?
From the 70s, yeah.
Hãy subscribe cho kênh Ghiền Mì Gõ để không bỏ lỡ มาขี่เรือออกลอกมาลอกไปโอ้แซ่โอ้แซ่แซ่โอ้กระตาลุกโอ้แซ่โอ้แซ่แซ่โอ้กระตาลุกโอ้ เจ้าเอาหรือไปเอาหรือมาองค์แท้องค์แท้แท้องค์นั้นลุกองค์แท้องค์แท้แท้องค์นั้นลุกองค์ไม่ร้ายทำร้อยตาจ้าไม่ร้ายขึ้นมาทำมันหน้าแสงสองมีพวกใช้ลูกไม้ไม้กันร้อง
I think we could stop it now. Thank you.
Sure.
Well,
No, they
repetition
do everything
is
twice, you know, of course.
I like it. I like it that way.
Oh, me too.
Yeah. You've done a new work, a quartet, which is going to be shown on your BAM season and at Jacob's Pillow this summer for men dancers. Does that have any connection to Sean and men dancers, or is it just coincidental?
Yes, it must.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons I mention it, I'm very curious, because you and Sean come from very different points of view about gender, because Sean was working at a time when he felt it really necessary to promote dance as a, quote, manly art in order to get his Men Dancers company on the road in the 30s and get people to think of it as a decent occupation for men. Whereas you, coming from a much later time, have played amazing games with gender in your company. Men, women lifting men, men partnering men, understudies regardless of gender, like a woman taking over a man's role or a man taking over a woman's role.
That's just because the company's not that big. You know, who else can do it? It's like I broke my leg. Who can do my part, really?
I remember having dinner with Clarice Marshall in Brussels, and it was when you had done, what was the piece to Schoenberg, the movie piece?
It's called Wonderland.
Wonderland. I said, who's understudying Baryshnikov? And she said, gulp, I am. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah.
But I just wondered whether originally, I mean, you say it's a practical thing, but for instance,
well, it's become a practical thing.
Yeah.
20 years ago, for me, it was much more of a sexo-political thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it does seem. And you've used a drag in the Hard Nut for the maid and the mother.
That's right, and yeah, right. Right, Fritz is played by a woman.
Yeah, and you've done some really serious stuff. I want to look at the solo from Deck of Cards. And I wondered how you made that choice. It's a man singing the song, and you are somehow, your gestures are somehow associated with the song, but it's a song about a woman, and you're doing it dressed as a woman. How did you make those decisions?
This dance, I mean, the sexo-political thing is a longer conversation than this.
Yes.
Because it's, a lot of battles have been won as men and women, and as queers and as artists. A lot has changed. I don't need to proselytize the way I felt that I needed to 20 years ago, because, teenagers now don't even care. It's like, of course, their friends are dykes. It's no problem. Anyway, okay. With this dance, the dance called Deck of Cards, I found a song called A Deck of Cards, which is kind of a famous spoken song of the country western tradition, probably originally from the 60s. It's in many forms. It's a religious thing about the deck of cards not being about sin, but being about points in the Bible. And so I made up this dance that was it's 3 solos in a row that have the same traffic pattern. The first movement's done by a remote control truck, a miniature 18-wheeler truck. And then there's a solo for me as a woman, the subject of the song. And that has the same gesture motifs that appear in the last solo, which is to a deck of cards. So it's all related to God Almighty, 2, the 2 books of the Bible, 3, the Holy Trinity, etc. So the gestures that happen at the end of every 8-bar phrase are from what you would see next in the show. But I just thought, and also originally, and when we do this piece now, the third dance is done by a woman dressed as a male soldier. I've done it. I also did that with White Oak, and Mr. Baryshnikov did the legit male solo.
Wasn't it originally sort of a biker kind of outfit?
No, it was always a uniform, army uniform with no pants.
That's it, no pants. Okay, and so the song that you're dancing to is "Say It's Not You."
Say It's Not You. Right?
Let's look at that solo because
George Jones singing.
This is 1987. This is actually, I think, this is a 1987 tape of you doing it, and wonderful, wonderful dancing. So could we please see tape number 3?
Darling, there's talk around town about a girl.
Can you turn it up? The words are important.
With soft lips and eyes crystal blue. Darling, say it's not you. They say that she comes in alone and stays till self-respect is gone. Then each night she leaves with someone new. Darling, say it's not you. At first, what they said didn't hurt me until they mentioned her name. And so the tears overtook me, 'cause her name and yours is the same. Each night till the breaking of dawn, I pray that you're not the one. Tell me lies, but say it's not true. Darling, say it's not you. Darling, say it's not you.
Seems to me that you also choose your dancers for many different qualities, and like the women can be very, very strong, and you encourage sometimes a kind of tenderness or supposed female qualities in the men, or goofy qualities like the men's, like the silly men's dance in Allegro.
No, it's called the stupid men's dance.
Yes, they're more than silly.
Yeah. No, less than silly. Yeah, sorry.
No, but I mean, the look of your dancers is very different from many other companies. They're strong in a different way. They're very, very musical, of course. But it seems to me like the men can be very different. The women can be different from traditional roles, traditional gender roles.
Uh-huh.
You have small, sturdy women, tall, willowy
But,
women.
I'm just wondering, really, the traditional sex roles, that seems to me to be so historical now in a lot of ways. It's like it's shocking if your mother doesn't work. Like people are embarrassed to stay home and raise kids, which I think is just as idiotic. But it's like, come on, most people can have a lot more choices than they used to, and so that's great. That doesn't seem bizarre to me. At first, like I was saying about this sort of sexo-political thing, at first I wouldn't allow my work to have anything in it that couldn't be done equally well by men and women, big and small, old and young. And then enough already. Then I want like the really hot, if you have to change a light bulb way up high, you'd put the big, strong man on the bottom and the skinny little gal on top, and it's easier.
Yes.
It just works better. I'm sorry. And so, for certain effects, I do that. And, it's much less underscored than it used to be. But really, that's a long time ago. And I know I wouldn't have relationships the way I do with people who are in their early 20s. I wouldn't have those relationships unless I had a dance company. I would have my 40-something-year-old friends and their 6-year-old children. That's the people I would know. And, my 70 and 80-year-old friends. And that's it. I would be missing all of this. I see these people. I see teenagers and people in their 20s, and they're just fine. And they're really interesting, and they have no problem. It's so much different between men and women, and between queers and straight people, and in a certain way between races and creeds. And of course, everybody knocks each other out. But it's really, really interesting, and to me, seems better than it was. I don't have to keep making these same fights, and that's reflected on purpose in my work.
You have such a really varied taste in music. You have Tamil love songs, you have the music we've heard, and you've used a lot of American music as well. What draws you to a particular piece of? That's a stupid question.
You know what? It's not. It's like why do I have the dancers I have? Because they're just damn good dancers. And the music I work with, it's because I just think it's great and I love it. There has to be, something in common with all these pieces of music is that there has to be something that I can bear to listen to many, 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 many times. And there also has to be some little surprise in it. Yeah. Like if it's a duet for, like Peter Schickele wrote, with music for like bagpipe and lute. That's a really, really good idea. And, or it's like, it can be a composer I like Lou Harrison or Handel, someone whose work that I really love and am always interested in finding out more about it. Or, I have a wonderful genius pianist who works with me now, so I'm doing more piano works than I used to. And I just try to keep listening. A little hook, like a missing beat or a strange chord progression or something that is surprising helps.
Yeah, but I was thinking there must be a lot of music you love that you couldn't dance to. I was thinking of Balanchine talking about musique dansante, something that gets your feet going or gets something going. I bet you listen to a lot of things that you just would not choreograph.
Certainly, yeah. I also listen to a lot of things once that I hate.
Well,
but didn't Balanchine say that you couldn't dance to Bach, except for Concerto Barocco or something like that?
Oh, I don't remember that he said that. He could have.
Maybe it was Mozart, except for Divertimento 15. Is that what it was?
He did do a couple of Mozart.
That's such bullshit. Yeah, anyway, right. I love Balanchine's work so very, very much. the entire oeuvre, that I'm very comfortable saying that this dance stinks, or like that's a laugh riot. Everybody's crying at Scotch Symphony. I'm laughing.
Yes.
It's interesting and it's really good work.
I think Balanchine expected you to laugh.
I know. I wish everybody would get over that. It's come on. Anyway, okay, sorry.
One of the things that you have done with some of the pieces you have choreographed is your interest in words. That is, if it's a song and it has words, sometimes you will go quite closely with the words. That is, there'll be movements that will give us the words.
Right.
And
sometimes not.
And sometimes not. When not and when yes?
That depends on who's watching.
Huh.
It depends on how different people see work. It's like most people watching a dance recognize the device of a canon, like a musical canon, just delayed starts. It's very, very difficult to recognize other manipulations of material that composers use all the time, and people analyze music very much more deeply than they do dance generally. I'm sorry, I know you're a critic, but there's a much bigger world. There's way more music than there is dance.
Yeah.
So it's easy to spot a canon. It's not so easy to spot a fugue. It's not easy to spot a retrograde action, or the fact that an arm move describes the same shape as the pattern on the floor. Those are fabulous, interesting concepts that develop a piece of art in any medium, that I don't think it's important to be able to pick those out. But things like a gesture, like the singer says stop and you go stop in the name of love or something, right? And that everybody gets that because you identify those things. They can also be different moves that you identify from repeated viewing, that they seem to mean something. But I work with vocal music primarily because, as my very good friend Lou Harrison, the composer, he was asked to define music, and he said music is a song and a dance. That's how I feel exactly. And singers and dancers have far more in common than other artists do, than instrumentalists do. All you have is you physically to do this. Also, text is a wonderful extra something that you can work with in some way. It can be rhythmic. It's much easier for American audiences if they're watching a piece with text in a different language besides English. They feel that's more artistic, because if you can hear the English, then why do you have to dance that? You're just illustrating it or something like that. But the thing is that almost all music with text is written as a response to the text and not to the music. So the great cantatas of Bach are written, the music is so great because it's coming from this particular text and not the other way around. I think that gets mixed up sometimes. It's like, what a pretty song, and in Tin Pan Alley occasionally there would be the tune and then somebody writes three little words, that is written to the tune. It's usually the other way, so that the emotion of the text is why the music is written and why I end up choreographing.
And why the music comes out the way it does.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd like to look at a little scene from your going away party, which was performed at Jacob's Pillow. I think this is, I'm not sure when this performance happened.
I think it's 1937.
We
had just finished the theater.
Yes. You did it again you did it more recently. You did it, I think, in 1997 or 19. You revived it.
Yeah, 90s sometime. And we did it with
right.
Okay, I know that.
And here's a case. This little scene is one in which there are moments when the dancers are clearly illustrating the words. Just a little bit.
I know what bit you're doing here.
Well, I've forgotten what bit it is too. You'll know
right.
as soon as you see it. Could we have that tape number 4, please?
This music is Bob Wilson, who's Texas Playboys.
little place we used to go and hold your hand in mine just like the old times, baby, that sure would go good. Candlelights of time, a little dancing with your cheeks tonight, a little laughter and some little sighs, with love shining in your pretty eyes, the way they used to shine just like the old times, baby, that sure would go good. Baby, 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 why don't you come back where you belong? I miss you in the morning, miss you when the day's gone, and all night long. A little walk with you sure would go good. A little talk with you sure would go good. And hold you in my arms so close to me, with everything the way it used to be, and feel your lips on mine just like the old times, baby. That's
What? Yeah, I mean, here's a case where you know, on the chorus, you have your own equivalent for walking and talking and
Right.
tabling and whatever those other things were. Yeah.
No, that's the funny lip joke. You know, with your lips on mine, etc. Everybody it always gets a big laugh when they finally figure out, you know.
I was thinking about, you know, one of the things that was new and exciting in the earlier part of the century was music visualizations, which was a very different kind of thing because it was fitting the movement to the music in every way, like Jess Meeker, his score for Kinetic Mulpie, you know, if the piano went brum, all the men went brum, and if the piano went brum, they all fell down. And
Nothing wrong with that.
and Sean had made some remarks that are very, well, I don't want to get back onto gender, but, you know, saying that, you know, you had to have men and women. He's, you know, and there's a film of him. He's leaning against a spade, looking very picturesque, as if he's really a farmer. And Walter Terry asked him some questions, and you know, what's important to have men? And he said, well, why would you want an orchestra of only piccolos? And Revealing, yes.
Never had that problem myself.
So in a real music visualization, or what Ruth Sundanus called her synchoric orchestra, the women, you know, represented the musical line of the higher instruments and so on. And it's a very different, you know, it's more of what we would call Mickey Mousing the music, but they did it to try to make you see what you were hearing, whereas your approach, however closely you're bound to the music, you're not doing that. I mean, you're not following it note by note or word by word.
I am sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Can I say something about that, about what you just said?
Yes.
Good, okay. A couple things. One is my first choral dance. Here's the thing, like, you know, when you say men, women, you know, they're the four combinations of couplings. My first choral choreography was a piece to the the Vivaldi Gloria in D major, which I set the choruses as specifically soprano, alto, tenor, bass in line. Sopranos are upstage, basses are downstage. It's it's very specific choreography. I, on purpose, what seemed, you know, this sounds like exactly the Orchestra of Piccolos thing, because the sopranos, there's like a leader and a follower in each of the couples. The same is true in one of the movements of L'Allegro. Sopranos are represented by two women. The basses are two men. The altos are a woman leading a man, and the tenors are a man leading a woman. Oh. So the principal voice from high to low, partly because of where voices lie, partly because of physical strength, partly because of what is known as stereotypical roles of the sexes, which, you know, there's a reason that they're stereotypical, really. It's not just made up from nothing. That's exactly what I was doing. And it seemed like gender fuck or something that I'm doing, you know, this is radical men, you know, men, women. It's like, it's just kind of not. And in that particular situation, it's even more so. It's even underscoring the fact of men dancing to the trombones and women dancing, you know, to the finger cymbals or something. Because there's nothing wrong with that. When you hear like a flute go ripple, ripple up, everybody sees like a beautiful little turn or something.
Yes.
You know, come on. The war dance isn't, you know, it isn't a bunch of ladies.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We don't have to all be the same.
I mean,
It's
there's
nice.
nothing wrong with being obvious sometimes, you know? I mean,
And Mickey Mousing also, who is a better choreographer than Walt Disney? I can't think of one. The best nutcracker I've ever seen in my life is from Fantasia. It's much better than Balanchine's. It's better than my own. It's incredibly genius and beautiful. And that is very often, not in that case of Fantasia, but, you know, often the score was made to, in reverse order, like Louis Horst wanted to have happen. It's like, you know, I want him to like step on a rake and get hit in the head, so the music that goes like that.
Right.
That's just great. You know, I think there's nothing wrong with that. There was a big embarrassment for 30 years about dancing with music, and pretty much, as I see it, pretty much everybody on earth dances to music, except, you know, a few of us who are overeducated.
and and in other cultures, the music leads the dance. The music is the important thing.
And yeah, and it's the same thing. You know, that's all I want in my shows, is for the dancers and the musicians to do the same thing. You know, I tell the dancers, sing this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's wonderful. That's what it's about. When you're in a real, that's what raves are about. You drop I haven't done this, but I'm too old, but you drop ecstasy and go to a secret location where everyone's your age, and you dance like mad to a 2/4 beat that's all synthesized, and there's something that's really, really fun and exciting about it.
Yeah.
That's just great. And if that doesn't exist, and that exists in Balanchine when it's done well, it exists in all good art.
Choreography, yeah.
I would say all good art.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, be quiet. I can hear you too much. You're confusing me.
I'd like to look at a little bit of New Love Song Waltzes, because that's such a beautiful musical piece, and it's a different kind of music from anything we've been looking at. Music that Isadora Duncan danced to when she was in love, and your own take on it is very beautiful. So let's look at a little section of this. This is tape number 5.
Brahms.
Brahms. Sorry, did I not even say Brahms?
No, that's okay.
Brahms. This has been performed several times in the year. This worked on. So beautiful. Yeah. I would like to actually end this little this first half of the talk show.
understand.
I would like to end the first half of the talk show. Our sponsors are. by showing just a nice little glimpse of you and Yo-Yo Ma walking across the Pillow Grounds to begin the preparation for falling downstairs. So could we see that tape number 6, please?
Get ahead of it. This is
Voila.
voila.
Isn't it great?
I love barns, but this is a great one. But this place has a special feel for you anyway, right? I mean, this is.
Well, the whole place, every building was, it was built only for dancing. It was the first place built only for dancing in the States, and it still is like that. So it can convert to a theater if it needs to, or just a fabulous way out in the woods kind of rehearsal place. Why don't you play some lowness?
All right.
So then I'll go farther away to hear what it sounds like.
You like this note?
Yeah, straight up, right? Bone conduction. Right.
It'll sound fabulous.
Of course it will. It'll
sound
resonate.
Mark will sound fabulous. Fabulous. Wind, everything.
What a collaborator.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
He's good.
Oh, yes, he is good. So, Mark, I'd like to thank you very much, and we're delighted to have you, and go enjoy your season, and I hope everybody here goes and enjoys
You
it too.
better. We open tomorrow. It's going to be really good. I promise.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. So now, I don't really have this Charlie Rose number down very well, and I don't have that table to lean across and look earnest or anything like that. So I would like now to invite Donald Sadler up, and I would like to give you a little background for those of you who don't know him. Donald was an original member of ballet theater, American Ballet Theater. He danced in many musicals. He's won Tony Awards for his choreography of Wonderful Town and No No Nanette. And he has choreographed or directed films, television programs, operas, ballets, industrials, and produced or directed and choreographed many gala events. And most recently thrilled Broadway audiences in the 2001 Broadway production of Stephen Sondheim's Follies, Dancing with Marge Champion. They got all the best reviews, and Marge Champion is here in the audience tonight. So please welcome Donald Sadler. So we're going to talk we're going back now into the pillow history, because in the summer of 1941, ballet theater, it was the war years, obviously, and Donald was not long to be out of the army. Jacobs Sean's Men's Company had ended, and Anton Dolin of Ballet Theater leased the pillow for the summer. Of course, Ted Sean and Ruth and Dennis later were around, but that was a time for rehearsal. I mean, it's a place to be for the summer.
It was to keep us together because we were off, and we had to. They wanted to keep us together, and so we, Anton Dolan and Alicia Markova, Dame Alicia now, they were the heads, and a very wealthy sponsors paid for the whole summer, and we collected our unemployment insurance of $15, of which we gave the pillow, and then we had $10 left.
Yeah, you gave them $5 for your room and board, and
That's
you had
right.
$10 left to play around with. But
it was a great summer because we worked on new things, and every weekend we performed new works, and then even things that were in our repertoire. And it was very successful in that sense.
It wasn't the whole company, even though the company was small. Then it was just a group of you, right?
It was, I would say, the major part of it.
Really?
Maybe a few were off in South America with Mr. Balanchine's company, only about 3, and but major part.
And did you rehearse Princess Aurora there?
That was already in the
repertory. This was a period too when ballet theater was going under Saul Hurok's management, so there was a bit of Russianization going on in the repertory right then, and so they were adding things like the last act of The Sleeping Beauty and Fokines' Bluebeard.
We called it the Russian invasion.
Right. Jerome Robbins said for years he never got out of bloomers and boots and a wig, and
with the arms crossed.
Yes, with your arms crossed. But the Pillow, of course, must have been a very different place then. It was a lot more rustic than it is now.
Well, I think you'll see in a short clip that it was, and I saw it now, and the stage wasn't that big. The back did open up into the opening. The dressing rooms were very crowded and small.
Yes.
We had one other room in which we could give sort of lectures and rehearsals and class. That was it. We just had that and the Ted Shawn theater.
And even as late as Mark's first appearances there, the parking lot went right up to the door of the theater. I remember how dusty it was, that all the cars were parked right there on what's now this huge lawn.
Oh,
so it was.
See, I haven't been there for quite a while.
Oh, well, it's
but
quite
I saw
luxurious.
The changes tonight.
But I wanted to actually, you rehearsed, you performed, you did all those things, and did you have any time to sort of enjoy the country as it looks?
Yes, to us it was, like camping out and picnicking, that sort of thing. But we worked very, very hard. Classes were every morning at 9 and for an hour and a half. Then we would rehearse and go to lunch, come back and rehearse again. And even in the evenings, because there were no rules and no place else to go, really, to do.
I remember that it may have been that summer, or it might have been the next, no, probably was that summer that Anthony Tudor rehearsed his, the beginnings of his Pillar of Fire in the barn on what was then Ma Derby's farm, that little barn which now belongs to the Pillow.
Right.
And Nora Kay and Lang and Tudor worked in that.
Yes, they had just begun that. The rest of us were put into the ballet after that.
Later, yeah.
Later.
I'd like to look at a little bit of archival footage from the Pillows archives that seems to have belonged to Steffi Nawson, who became the respected Westchester dance teacher, and she's the blonde in the film. And this shows her and Alicia Markova on the streets of Lee shopping, and then shows the Pillow with some wonderful cars. And you'll then see a glimpse of, we'll just talk a little bit about it as it goes along. It's an old film.
1941.
41, summer of 41. That's Markova, and that's Steffi Nawson.
As you know, Alicia Markova had been with the Diaghilev Company, and later, after that, with the Ballet Russe. And when Mr. Hurok took over the company, he brought in, Anton Dolan was already our premier danseur, and they brought in Alicia Markova and Irina Baranova.
And there's some of them at the Pillow, trying to fit on this bench for the camera. That was Walter Terry, the critic.
It was very, like a summer camp that was very, very rural, and trying to see who those
I don't know
are.
who that actually is there.
I can't see from this angle.
This is the great car. Somebody had a Rolls or something.
Oh, that's Steffi Nawson.
That's
is
Steffi
the tall
Nawson.
lady.
Yeah, she's the blonde. And this shows, that's Walter Terry, I think. And in a minute, this is Barton Muma. And Norton, who's that again? Lisa Parnova, yeah.
I think they came up just to perform one.
Sean, that was Joe Pilates for a minute, Jess Meeker.
Jess Meeker. Mr. Sean, Papa Sean, we called him.
I don't know who this woman is. Do you know who she is? This gray-haired lady?
No, I do not know.
Maybe a board member or something. This part is very dark, but we have to. This is Ruth St. Denis arriving, and as you can see, even if you can't see her, you can see what she's doing with her draperies, and also how she and Sean are playing as they were wont to do. We Are the Great Lovers, and she's doing like Teddy. Let me fix your.
One morning, I went into the studio, and there's Miss Ruth was in a split and doing her warming up exercises. I didn't wait to see how she got out of it. But I was very impressed.
Okay.
She revived her
can we have some,
first ballet, Radha.
Some lights. Can we have some stage lights, please? Hello? Thank you. One of the things that was amazing about Ruth St. Denis is how limber she was. And, she just was very loose. Also, when I first performed there, she was very old, and she was so knock-kneed that when her knees touched, her feet were about this far apart.
Right.
And she would arrive all veiled and swathed in things. This was even later than you were there, and you thought, my God, she would be leaning on things, and then she would fix herself up, and she would sort of pull her face up and put adhesive tape here, and she would get into her costume, and she would go out on stage, and she would dance. She did her incense.
She was very remarkable.
Really remarkable. You must have, you had the chance to perform with her. What was that like?
She, for the pillow to celebrate the summer there, she revived a ballet. Her first great ballet was called Radha, and she's this East Indian goddess, and there are 6 priests, lamas, like Tibetan priests, and then there was the high priest, and I got to be the high priest. So my big claim to fame.
How was it rehearsing with her?
Oh, I bet you couldn't take your eyes off of her because she was a stunning woman. And even with no makeup and the white hair hanging down, she looked like Eleanor Duse, and had that same presence of Duse must have had. Anyway, I have to tell one story about Miss Ruth.
Oh, please.
Marcus Bleckman was a famous photographer and had been in A Dancer earlier with Jack Cole in The Doors' Humphrey Wyman. Anyway, he was, Miss Ruth would come every year for about 30 years. Every year she would come and have some new photographs taken. And this, she must have been like 86 or 7. She comes in, and she came in, and she had this big bag of tied up, like a knapsack kind of thing, and she spread it all out on a table, and then she said she started to got all the makeup up there, and you're right, she put the skull cap on, and she tied up the string. I know this because I watched her make up at Jacob's Pillow, and then she pulled everything up, and then by this time she was slightly palsy, and Marcus said that she would take the eyebrow pencil, and the hand would shake, and she'd go. lashes. Finally, the lipstick, you'd see the hand go up and she'd go. And by the time she finished, she looked like Ruth St. Dennis. But I have to demonstrate this because she said, Marcus, she said, all right, dear, I'm ready. And he had a little photographic studio there. So she's going there, she's going. She said, all right, dear, are you ready? He said, yes, Miss Ruth, and she went. I forgot she had said on the way to the studio, she said, why did I have to pick an art where I have to capture beauty? But every picture she would collapse, and then all of a sudden she'd do it. And every picture he showed me, because they were so beautiful. Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get off on
Oh, no, that's right on track.
But she was the mother of American dance.
Beautiful, yeah. Well, you probably know this feeling where you think, like, I can't walk, but I can dance. I think of Merce Cunningham, too, in that respect. You could follow him down the street and you think, oh, my God, and then he would go on stage and he would perform. That was sort of ill-advised of Miss Ruth that summer. Radha was a piece from 1906 when she was a ravishing young woman, and she had a ravishing sort of East Indian costume with a choli and a full skirt, sort of like a Kathak dancer. And the idea was that she was sitting in a shrine and it was a wonderful idea because she could be incredibly sexy and incredibly virtuous at the same time. She was going to come down out of her shrine and give a lesson to her priests by dancing each of the 7 deadly sins. But in order to show them that they should renounce these, she first had to do it, including a thing called delirium of the senses, where she spun herself into sort of sensual fervor and then got up and said, and none of this is good for you, and went back and sat in her shrine. But for this summer, unfortunately, she decided to wear a perfectly terrible costume, especially considering her age, with a tall sort of Egyptian hat. So we're going to show you a little clip, and you won't actually see her come down out of her shrine. You'll see her at the back, but you'll see Donald as a very serious lead priest introducing her.
A big claim to fame.
Yes. So. We have the lights dimmed here. Thanks.
This is indeed a moment of history.
Can you scan
It
forward a bit,
spans
please?
almost 70 years.
That's Walter Terry, the critic for the Herald
Sorry,
Tribune.
I thought we had it queued up and we didn't.
But when you realize from the Denishons, you got Martha Graham,
Doris
the
Humphrey.
Doris Humphrey, Charles Weidman. And so they were a great, great influence.
Yeah,
on all
well,
of
the
us.
Denishon School and also taught movie stars, like the Gish sisters and what's her name, Louise Brooks, the great movie actress who started out as a Denishon dancer. So it was they had a school in New York and in Los Angeles long before the actual Jacob's Pillow was founded, which was after they had broken up, and Sean and his men dancers were then in residence. Let's see. Are we okay? Okay, let's roll it. Thanks, Raphael. This is Donald.
Forgot that completely.
Oh, that was lovely. How did you have to audition for the high priest role, or
No, she just picked me.
she just picked? Well, were those all ballet theater dancers? The
Yes,
other
it
six
was
priests? Yes.
Rex Cooper, Richard Reed, most of it.
And you went back to Jacob's Pillow, and you premiered Winesburg, Ohio. This
Yes,
was
a ballet I did.
in 1958 to the Sherwood Anderson.
Right.
And also, this property is condemned.
The Tennessee Williams
Yeah.
play.
So,
We spoke and danced.
how did that gig come about? You were just invited to come up with your this is
Well, yes, I'd always wanted to do it, and I had done a suite of dances that Tennessee Williams and John Latouche wrote, and called Blue Mountain Ballads. And when I went to see about it, I had asked if I could do This Property is Condemned, and his agent said, "Oh, well, he's in Europe. You know, he can't. It'll be some time because he only contacts me at different times from American Express. So I know you have to have an answer." But he did write 4 songs, and so I did them with. It was the group of dancers in high button shoes: Helen Gallagher, Jacqueline Dodge, Richard Beard. And myself. Anyway, she told me that I had permission to do it, which we did, and I got work from that. Anyway, Anton Dolan came to a rehearsal, and he brought Tennessee Williams at a rehearsal of this. And so I said to Mr. Williams, this was, months later, he said, I said, "I always wanted to do This Property is Condemned." He said, "I think it would be wonderful." So he gave me permission to do it. And I did it first for ballet theater. And then after that, I had this small group of people that I took to the Pillow. And it was the same time with Valerie Bettis. I danced in her company, and then in exchange she danced, and we had to do it. You'll see a clip of Valerie Bettis doing As I Lay Dying with Grover Dale. And then you'll see a clip of Maria Kornilova being the mad aunt in As I Lay Dying, and then myself as Uncle Randolph, who was, they were both eccentrics, as you'll see.
So,
and but that's
was
mostly
that the same? Was that the same summer, or was that later that you?
58. I went in 55, and I went back in 58.
But I mean, the summer that you did Winesburg and This Property is Condemned.
That was
with
55.
55, and then with Valerie, it was.
Yes, she invited me back.
It was later. Were those the only times that you were at the Pillow?
After that,
After
yes.
that, yeah. Yeah, and well, you'll explain that Donald has a wonderful film that of clips from those days, so it's all a bit mixed up, and so he'll explain to you. You can maybe you tell them about the beginning about
The summer we were there, Dwight Godwin was a photographer.
the 41.
And also a member of the company, and he had this film camera. And we were going to hold a big square dancing just for fun one weekend. So he said, "I'm going to photograph different couples gathering, and then from there we'll go into when we do the square dance evening, we'll film that." So you're going to see a brief couple. First coming out is Maria Kornilova, and I'm waiting for her. And then we walk down the road, and then there's another couple who was Jess Meeker that Mark Morris spoke about, the pianist in the company, and Virginia Wilcox, one of the dancers. Anyway, we meet, and that's all you see. Then later on, you see the clips from.
Yeah, well, you could talk over it.
Oh,
So
sure.
that would be a good idea. I thought, did you say something about, was it Dwight Godwin you said, who had a camera?
Yes.
It's an,
He took a lot of photographs of
and he became a
Norton would know.
filmmaker
Yes, he did.
after he was no longer a dancer. And you'll see that the pillow looks very different. This wandering up what I think is George Carter Road,
Yeah, way
beyond
up
where
the
Joe
road.
Marx used to live.
Right. And I think later it was a house that Madame Karenska bought, but it was just an old farmhouse. But he wanted that couple coming from the, well, you'll see it.
Yes, all right. So could we look at the video, please? This is I've forgotten where we are now. Number 8, number 9. Oh.
This is Maria Kornilova coming out of the house.
Dressed for square dancing.
This is how they dressed in those days. And here I am going to meet her. This is a threshing machine. I'm doing my Gary Cooper walk here.
Kicking the stubble just a little bit.
Later on.
It looks like the beginning of some strange country romance. Like
Yes.
any minute they're going to
Yes.
say,
Yes.
you know, will you go to the dance
It
with
looks
me?
a little Weinsberg to me. Yes, this is very tutorish here. We don't
Yes.
do much. We just. But you can see the pillow was very rural then and very rustic.
Yes, if that's George Carter Road, there's barely room for a
This is
car to...
the girl is Virginia Wilcox, one of the dancers, and Jess Meeker, who was that Mark Morris spoke about. He was the company pianist.
And you said actually, by the time this little film was finished, you had enough couples for a square.
Oh, yes, there were 8 couples gathered. I'm going to do my Gary Cooper moment here now.
Gary Cooper didn't have such a small waist.
At that moment, Maria Kornilova didn't know she was going to be a big star on Broadway, and I never knew I was going to choreograph. We were just dancers, that's all. This is a little bit of Giselle here. We're waiting for the other couple. This is very Giselle.
Yes.
Those were berries, by the way.
I hope so.
I forget. I think they were, I don't know what they were. Here we are.
You both look incredibly glamorous.
Well, was it? Yeah, 21 is very easy. That's all it is. Dancers don't change that much, you know.
So the others, now we're going to cut ahead, right? We're going to jump ahead to the 50s here. But this is 58, but
58. This is a ballet I did from Weinsberg. I played the Reverend Hartman. That's Patty Birch, was the little girl, myself. This is Valerie Bettis and Grover Dale. Valerie Bettis was one of our wonderful modern dancers.
And this is in which?
This is From I Lay Dying.
Oh.
This is Kornilova doing the mad aunt who kept saying, "It's my birthday." And I'm Uncle Randolph, and we're as that's Grover Dale and Valerie Bettis again. This is Tom Hansen from, as you know, This Property is Condemned is about a little boy and girl along the railroad track. This is Kornilova, who was actually in The Dead Sister, but she's just acting like a silent screen star here. You know. She never repeated that role on Broadway, but she could have. And this is Ted Shawn. That's the end.
That's wonderful, Donald. That's a new film for all of us.
Well, it was a wonderful time.
It was. It was a wonderful time. I mean, I still remember in the 50s going there quite regularly because I was in the late 50s. I was teaching at a Camp Beaupre, and we took all our students there for Thursday matinees, as I remember, and all the camps from around came with buses. And of course, that was when Ted Shawn came out and made a speech, always somewhat like Ella does today, but very different. Ella's a lot, has Ella's particular kind of charm. And Shawn was, what he really wanted was, beside introducing, which he did very well, was to sell the souvenir program. And he did it in a very avuncular fashion. You know, for your own good, you need to buy this souvenir program because it supports our scholarship students. But the other thing that I remember about Shawn, and I don't know if he ever did this when you performed there with Valerie, but after you did your dress rehearsal, if he was in the mood, he would perform for your company. He would go up on stage in one of his old costumes. And I remember going there to perform, and he sort of laced himself into one of his old Spanish costumes and did a number.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
So
dancers, you know, play the music, they'll dance.
Play the music, they'll dance. Was he very much a presence when you were there?
Yes, he was. He came every Sunday and introduced the program, and
in 1941,
it gave it
a special,
a legendary kind of
and
presence.
He really had to build audiences in those days because it didn't have the allure that it has for tourists today. I can remember being there on Tuesday nights when there were just us local folks there, you know, and it was.
And the auditorium wasn't that large.
And it was very cold too. The wind came in. There was no inner siding. The wind came.
We were all in little cabins, in different places, and we'd come up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then it was that and rehearsing.
Mm-hmm.
But we were like a family, and all I remember, it was a wonderful time.
Yeah. We don't have any pictures of Donald dancing at the Pillow, except for the brief clips you've already seen. But we do have a wonderful little clip of Donald dancing because in 1947, one of the many shows that he was in was High Button Shoes, choreographed by Jerome Robbins and directed by George Abbott. And tell about this scene that we're going to see.
I played. It was about a family, and Nanette Fabre was this young mother. She had a little boy, and her husband Jack Macaulay, and I played her younger brother, who was always sending away for the latest dances. And whenever they arrived, I would study them. And Helen Gallagher was the maid in the house. Now, this is 1914 period with the hobble skirts and high button shoes. Anyway, every time they would come, I would open it up, and then I would rush into the parlor or wherever she was and try out these new dances with her. And then at the very end, after you see this sequence, there's a little reprise there where I've gotten another book and I'm opening it up, and she's had enough. Well, you'll see what she does. But it was, it always stopped the show, if I do say so myself. And if it didn't, right as soon as we got off stage, we went backstage and we rehearsed to find out where we didn't get a laugh in a certain moment. But the whole thing was that, well, you'll see.
I think that the Nancy, as the maid, was setting up the parlor for the ladies' bird watching club.
That's
or
right.
Bird club.
And I rush in with this thing,
Yes,
open up
and
the package
he
and
interrupts her, and then I think there comes the scene with the ladies' club, and it's after that. Isn't that it? After that you do the reprise after the ladies have gone. No, you did it right away.
No, at the end of it, there were parlor doors, and Nanette Fabry would open it up, and she'd say, "Willie, what are you doing?" You see, and then I would say, "Well," and but it was really put in so because she had to make a change.
Nanette Fabry had to make a
Right.
costume change. Yeah.
Usually, sometimes you can figure out in musicals why something is either in one, a number, crossover, something. It's always a reason for the leading lady has to change, or they have to change the scenery. So a lot of good dancing got into musicals for that reason, as Marge can
Yeah, I don't think they
verify.
have to do that so much anymore. In one, meaning that you were in the downstage area and the curtain would close behind you and you would do the number there so that the stage hands behind you, behind the closed curtain could change the scene for and then as soon as you finished your scene, then it would open and there would be the ball or whatever was going on.
It's always said.
Okay, so let's look at this last tape, number 10, which seemed to be filmed from backstage, maybe?
It looks like it's, sorry there's not the music, because it's
Yeah.
really old-fashioned tango music. I'm rushing on. I want to rehearse with her.
And Helen Gallagher said that this number was made up so fast that they really didn't know so well what they were doing,
No.
and that's what made the number so.
When she'd fall like that, she'd say, "Ouch," and I'd say, "Oh, Nancy, come on," It was really a silent movie kind of tango music that Rudolph Valentina would have done. She's getting carried away from herself. This step was called the Lulu Fadu. Well, steps in those days had names. And you can see Nanette Fabry coming in just at that moment to stop.
Now this is the.
This is later on. I have gotten another package of with a book in it about a new steps. And she says, "I'll show you."
Oh, we missed the end, right? She actually sort of bent him back over the table and
yes.
kissed him.
She backed me into the table and threw me up.
That's great. And if the fact that it never was, that was choreographed in such a hurry, were you able to keep up that awkwardness?
Always.
Yes, a perfect rehearsing.
Yes, apparently, Helen told me that George Abbott had said to Jerry Robbins, we need, Nanette has to change. So can you maybe do something with Willie and Nancy the maid, a little dance. And of course, Jerry was busy doing the numbers in the show. And finally, Mr. Abbott said, Jerry, if you don't do that tango, I'm going to. So it was like at the end of rehearsal, Jerry said, okay, let's see what we can do. And he did it in about an hour. But he did some of his best work under pressure, which we do sometimes. You're under such pressure that things just come out. And it did work, though.
Oh, it's a wonderful number. I'm so glad somebody.
But musically, sorry, you don't hear the music. It was very good underneath it.
Couldn't you have hummed it?
I could have, but
I think we owe so much to the people that we consider pirates, who go and sneak into places with cameras that they're not supposed to have,
Yes.
or our friends filming
Yes.
things, and to them we owe a lot. I think, Donald, that we have time to take some questions from the audience.
all right.
Would you like that? Would that be
Yes.
good? So if we could have a little more house lights on the audience, Walt, so that we can see each other. Does anybody have any questions? I can't even see, but does anybody have any
I
questions?
don't like these moments myself if I'm sitting out there.
Yeah. I know. Somebody, yes, right here, and then
Marge.
What kind of number did you do with Valerie Bettis? Because your training was so very different.
Well, of course, she was, as you know, Marge, she was one of our outstanding young modern dancers, and she did a ballet called Macbeth, and which I played Macbeth. And of course, she was Lady Macbeth, and so I went to her studio. I thought, well, I've never done this. It's a good challenge to find out if I can do modern things. I had studied with Hanya Holm, but that's all. Anyway, went to the studio, and she's showing me these steps, what to do, and then she said, you do 3 of those, and now you do 2 of these and something else. And finally, I got the idea, and I said, Valerie, would you put on the music? Because I would like to. I learn it better with the music, and you remember things, as you know, better, because the music tells you what to do after it's been choreographed. She said, oh, no, it'll come out all right. And I never really enjoyed it because I had to count all the time.
well, she had come from Hanya Holmes' company too, so I'm
Yeah.
surprised that,
Well, this was, I remember I did a long diagonal coming across with high jumps and everything like that. And, but there was nothing in the music that, if I could have remembered, did I do 4 or did I do 3? You're always worrying, how many?
But Donald, that's so interesting because she choreographed Beggar's Holiday
Yes,
that I danced with Paul Godkin in.
right.
And we only worked to counts.
That's it.
And for the entire rehearsal period, we only heard the music once at
Yes.
the orchestra played through.
And
And of course, she got apoplectic on opening night in Hartford because the curtain didn't go up at the right time. And she was running around backstage saying, 16, 2, 3, 4, 17, 2, 4.
I know. It's just another way of another technique
It's-
and another style, but
she was married to a composer too.
that's right.
Did somebody back there had a question? Yes.
What do you think the direction of the theater is today in terms of performers and choreography today, as opposed to the time that you were working?
You mean the great heyday of musical comedy?
What do you think about the way they're working today, and the same in ballet and dance?
Well, sometimes in the new shows, the dances are well integrated. Sometimes they just come on, and it's like, we've got to lift up the show here, and everybody does, wonderful, energetic routines, but they're more routines than the way we used to choreograph. Was you told a story, whatever the situation was, you took the leading lady. If there was some problem that she had in this scene as a dramatic problem, why then you did a dance around it to show her concern of her an inability to relate to people, whatever the situation of the show was. You told that story in the dance.
Well, that was of course considered an advance from Agnes DeMille's Oklahoma from the musicals where the dances had just been dances and not integrated at all, and her Dream Ballet and other ballets like that. I mean, Dream ballets became quite the rage, and then now it seems it's back to dance as the entertainment component more.
And it's wonderful invention, and but then sometimes you think you forget about the plot, and then those people who are the leading protagonists have to start all over again and remind the audience what the story is about. And we were always taught that you had to, or we learned to take the story to a next plateau, a next story moment, and if you did that, it was successful.
Yeah.
And but with someone like Mr. Abbott, he loved dancing. So if something could be said in dance rather than dialogue, he was the first to say, "Can you do a dance that says this?" And so I was just fortunate to work my first show with great people.
Well, and the great High Button Shoes ballet, the Max Sennett movie
Wonderful.
Chase. Really, I mean, it was very entertaining, but it had to do with the fact that these con men were absconding with a bag of money, and it was how to get the money back. Sandra Lee, who's in the audience, was one of those.
Well, she was Baby Crook.
She was the baby crook who was stealing the bag. We have a lot of celebrities here tonight. But it had a motivation.
Absolutely.
And it ended up with the bag, You
just didn't stop and do something. You told the story completely, and for me it was easy because when you've done Petrushka and all the old classic ballets that told stories, you would just whatever the character was, you became that, and that was it.
You were used to that, yeah. There was another question. I thought I saw somebody's hand. Yes. Can you hear the question? What happens to the
When you
kids
stop
who
dancing?
don't make it, and what happens when you stop dancing? Well, he's very successful, so he can't answer that question.
Well, I think I was just fortunate that coming from the ballet world, in those before ballet theater days, the only place you could dance was in musicals or the music hall. Nora Kay was in the corps de ballet at music hall. There was no other place to go. So when ballet theater was formed, I just was fortunate to be there at the right time. And it was, but the great thing was, which Marge and I have discussed, we were fortunate in that period because we were exposed to the best in ballet. Particularly in ballet theater, we had the great master Michael Fokine, we had Leonid Massine, we had
Tudor.
I'm talking about from links from the ballet, from the
From the
Diaghilev
Russian,
period. Adolf Bohm, Madame Nijinsky. And these were people who would, and then we also had Anton Dolan, who was the last premier dancer, one of the last of the Diaghilev period. So we were exposed to all this great heritage, and all of us profited. Alicia Alonso, all of us, we felt privileged. Well, they're more.
Let me just repeat the
companies.
question for the other people, because I don't know if you could hear it, but she's talking about in those days of people of Donald's generation going back and forth between musical comedy and ballet, and that didn't seem to happen so much now.
Right. If you left the ballet in those days, you could go into musicals, and that's why the level of dancing at a certain period in musicals was very high, because you had all these wonderful dancers that had decided to leave the ballet, and so you were really some of our, well, all in high button shoes, we had wonderful dancers, and they were.
Well, they had to, because they couldn't make money. I mean, when Jerome Robbins was making ballets for the New York City Ballet in its early days, ballets like Age of Anxiety, he was paid $500 for the ballet and $25 a performance for royalties. Now, he was not one who liked to live cheap either, so, or live poor. So naturally he would go off, and so would Balanchine in those days. To do musicals, the choreographers kind of had to.
Well, Mr. B did circus.
He did circus,
and
right?
a lot of musicals before.
It just had to be.
But it was just a kind of a natural thing, and you could move in and out. You could go back into the ballet, that sort of thing.
I think we had, well, there was one question back here.
A lady.
Yes, you back there. How does Donald continue to move and dance as he's gotten older?
Well, I really never stopped dancing, because when I was in the Follies over the Paper Mill Playhouse, I remember I was always shocked. People would come back and say, "Oh, you're still dancing," or like that. What did they think I was doing all those years choreographing? You work twice as hard as a choreographer, thinking up the steps, showing the steps, rehearsing the steps. So you know, I never stopped dancing. And thanks to Pilates, I'm able to continue. And Marge and I we never felt that we were out of practice when we started rehearsing, because it's just a way of living. It's a wonderful feeling, I can tell you.
Joan, did you have something to finish?
I just had something to add to the previous discussion about choreographers from the ballet going into musical theater. What happened in modern dance too, with Hanya Holm, of course, the most austere of modern dance choreographers.
And Tamiris, Helen Tamiris.
Yeah, I was in a show that Tamiris choreographed, Bless You All. I was Valerie Bettis' partner in that. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting for me, because it was another whole technique and another whole style of dancing, and I loved it.
There was sort of cross-pollination, too. I mean, I could remember the great tap dancers, Honey Coles, and no, it wasn't Honey Coles, was in Kiss Me Kate. There were two tap dancers. It was.
I know who you mean.
His name has just gone out. He's very.
Coles and Atkins. Coles and Atkins?
No, it wasn't Coles and Atkins.
That's Kiss Me Kate.
No, was it?
Yes.
But anyway, they said that that Hanya didn't understand, because they were tap dancers. They didn't understand space, and for those Wigman trained dancers, space was an active partner, and so on. So. She kept saying, but you just stand in one place and tap, and I'm going to give you this number where you have to move around. So that when Cook, it was Charles Cookie Cook and his partner, so that when Charles Cook would do a recital, he had a number. This was, like during the tap revival, and he called the number, "This is for you, Hanya." And he traveled around the stage so that there was an influence. I want to thank Donald Sadler so much for being here, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
It was wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. For more information on the 92nd Street Y, New York, and all of our programs, please visit us at 92ny.org.